What is up, Texas hockey fans? Welcome to Clean Sheet of Ice, a Texas hockey podcast presented by Apollo Media. On today's show, we will be talking about the rumors between the Dallas Stars and Wyatt Johnston's camp. Talking about an extension, an 8-year deal possibly. We'll get into that. We'll talk about the Blues game that you were at, Dom, in a suite, no less. Had a great time that game, 6 goals, not a big deal. And then we're going to preview the Devils and the Calgary game coming up tonight, Tuesday night, and Thursday night this week, before the trade deadline hits on Friday. Welcome to Clean Sheet of Ice, the Texas Hockey Podcast. Dom, how we doing, bud?
I'm like Zach and Cody, man. I'm living the sweet life. I'm just that. It's always fun in the American Airlines Center, and to be able to bring my brother to the game, to my parents, their first NHL game, with an unreal view of the ice. It was just. Every time I go over there's a really good game, and the Stars really show out. I don't know what's going on. I mean, the power play looked unreal.
It was an unreal game from the Stars. They got outshot 2-1. It's like 42-21 shots in the game. But, hey, hell of a game to go to. A little Sunday matinee, a little 5 o'clock game. Love those games, by the way. Just love a 5 o'clock game. Absolutely marvelous. And then, yeah, the power play was absolutely buzzing on 3 of them. One of them was really gross and probably didn't deserve to have a goal. But, hey, you take those all day long. You take them all day long. But, yeah, great Blues game. Going to have a pretty good week, I believe, against Jersey, where Luke Hughes and Jack Hughes look to be hurt right now. Not ideal for tonight's game for them on Tuesday night. But Calgary's kind of a wild card team-ish. They're right there, but they're right not there at the same time. So we'll get into that. But before we do that, reports from Jeff Merrick and others across the Twitter universe and journalism. Wyatt Johnston and the Dallas Stars are discussing a contract extension. Jim Nill reportedly wants it done before the trade deadline, so he knows how much money he has to work with in the future coming up. It was reported that he offered $8.5 million, so roughly what Rupe, Miro Heiskanen, and others on the and Jake Ottinger now have on the team. Roughly the same kind of deal. Team friendly, but also getting paid enough to where you're in the upper level of what the superstars are making, but not in the upper level of what superstars across the league are making. I have no idea what Wyatt Johnston's thinking, but what do you think about the deal? And hopefully we're getting this done before the trade deadline on Friday.
Yeah, leaving that game after seeing my very first hat trick in person, I mean, just the kid finds the perfect spot to land a shot on net. Would 100% co-sign that deal if it goes through. Would 100% do whatever it takes if it's more. Like you said, I don't know where Wyatt's head is at, but he knows he's a stud. The league knows he's a stud, and the kid plays like 20 minutes a night. I think he leads all centers for Stars in time on the ice, and still has a really good plus minus. And the dude, it'd be really important to get a guy that young locked in for that many years. I would love it. I know the cap's going up, but if you're Jim Nill, you want to use that cap space for the players to build that camaraderie. Leaving that game, my dad, who's high school baseball coach, high school football coach, he really got the feel of this locker room, and this team kind of plays off each other like a high school football team. You're playing for, your neighborhood. You're playing for everyone around you. And it's really that brother to brother feeling. To get a guy that good for $8 million would be a steal, in my opinion. He's worth every penny. Would love to see that length of a deal for him. And man, like it seems like he was really pissed off that he was left off those rosters come Four Nations time. And I don't think that's going to happen again. This dude is box office, and I really hope this deal gets done, because that would put a lot of comfort in Stars fans' hearts.
Yeah, and you've got Jason Robertson locked up for another year, and he's a little over $7 million right now. And that was a bridge deal. Obviously, it was a 4-year bridge deal, and he's going to get paid handsomely whenever he's a restricted free agent. Again, he gets 1 more year of restricted free agency. So if someone offer sheets him, we can still match it and keep him, which is huge. You got Harley coming up after next year as well, which is another big deal that you got to get done. But you've already locked up Miro, Rupe, Jake Ottinger is already locked up. You've got a bunch of young guys on the team that are under the entry-level contracts, and he signed Oscar back for 2-year extension. You got Sam Steele for a 2-year extension. Like, your team and your core of the team are locked up. Logan Stankoven is a restricted free agent this offseason as well. He'll get a bridge deal of some sorts. I don't know what that's going to look like based on the point production that he's had this year. He's an important piece to the team, but the point production hasn't been there yet this year, and he's tired of all the journalists and the media talking about it in the locker room, like the shortest answers of all time after Friday night's game, where he got 2 goals, and he's just tired of talking about results, and he wants to talk about play. He just wants to play. He doesn't care to talk about it. Wyatt Johnston is arguably going to be your captain in how many ever years after Jamie Benn leaves. He's already wearing the A. He's 21 years old. I think he's an integral part. I think everyone loves him in the locker room. He's soft-spoken. He's a lot like Jamie Benn in a different way. But with the media and the way he talks, and I think the way he is in the locker room, I think he's very similar to what Jamie Benn is. And to roll off from Jamie over to Wyatt, I don't think it's not a bad plan in the next 5 years, 4 years, however long Jamie Benn decides to stay with the Dallas Stars or decides to keep playing hockey. You have no idea how long that's going to last. It could last another 7 or 8 years, and Wyatt Johnston's deal would be up. Like, have no idea, but Jamie Benn will be the C until he decides to retire or leave the Stars, which isn't going to happen, so don't have to worry about that. $8 million seems short of what they should offer Wyatt Johnston at this time. I know the point production wasn't there the first 2 or so months of the season, but he's catching up at an alarming rate. Like, he might hit 30 goals this year out of nowhere and do it again what he did 2 years ago, with basically 2 months of the season kind of being wasted, like very minimal point production. But I think if you can settle in either in the high 8s or the low 9s and just say, hey, if we can get this deal done at this number, we can either go bring in another guy or we're able to sign Harley, Robo, etc. this offseason and keep the team together. And if you want that $12 million, then we might have to let you go to the open market and see what you get out there. And I don't think he's necessarily worth $12 million just yet for an 8-year deal. I don't think that's where he's at just yet, but I think he's closer than people would like to admit. But you've seen what the other Stars have done with Miro. When he signed, he was 21 years old. So same age as Wyatt Johnston, that extension. Miro was arguably a top 10 defenseman at the time, and $8 million plus was a very high number for defensemen. Like 9 was kind of the top number, 9.5 at that time. And like what Seth Jones got, he got 9.5. They signed around the same time. And that's kind of what the top defensemen were getting on the open market. Miro was 21 years old, and they just wanted to lock him up. Got him a very, very good number. Even if you go to 9.5 for Wyatt, I don't think that's a detriment to the team. I think you still are able to get deals done. You may end up letting some fourth liners go or some backup defensemen go, but you got Liam Bichel. He's on an entry-level deal. You got Maverick Bourque and Logan Stankoven on entry-level deals right now. I think you get one more year maybe out of Logan or maybe one more year out of Maverick. I can't remember which one it is, but one of those is a restricted free agent this offseason as well. But I don't think their cap hits are going to be crazy in the $3 to $5 million range, maybe, if they're lucky for a bridge deal. And then Jamie Benn's 9.5 is coming off the books this offseason. He's going to come back at in between $3 and $5 million more than likely. And then Tyler Seguins is off the books the following season. I would assume he comes back again. He's planning to raise his kid here in Dallas and retire here in Dallas. He's not going back to Canada or leaving anywhere else. Like, he's going to be a Dallas guy forever. The cap situation is interesting. And I understand why Jim Neal wants to get it done before the deadline, because if he does that, then consequently puts Miro on LTIR, then you've freed up another $8.5 million essentially. And then you've got almost $13 million to play with. I think it's 12.7 is what they would end up with if they put Miro on LTIR. And if you can find that UFA guy that has a big high cap hit and bring him in, all of a sudden this team is super duper cup contenders with more and more depth. Like, Granlund and CC were an awesome trade, but I don't know what they'll do. They may do something. Everyone else thinks they're going to do something. I'm on the side of them not doing something at the trade deadline, but we'll be live for it on Friday on Apollo HO YouTube. So hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell so you never miss an episode. But yeah, Wyatt getting a deal done now as opposed to this offseason would be massive, just for the continuity of this team and the confidence that they have in him, and making sure that he's getting paid very well, but not at top dollar market. And I don't know what Johnston's camp is thinking. I don't know what Wyatt Johnston thinks. Like, is he the team friendly guy? Is he going to be like Miro and Rupe and all those guys? Like, I don't need $10 million. I'll take the 8. Like, that's perfectly fine. The $2 million a year, like, sure, I could do more with it, but you live in a no state income tax state, and I think that helps them. No players want to go play in Canada unless they have to, for the most part, and no one really wants to go to California or New York unless they have to at this point. I mean, unless you want to go play for the Rangers or the Kings or whatever, but no state income tax is huge. Seth Jones wanted to go to Dallas or Florida. That was it. No state income tax. It's a massive advantage. So even if you bump it up to $9.5 million, I think that's comparable to what $12.5 million would be in Canada. So the dollar looks smaller, but you're getting about the same as what you would get on a very big deal in Canada. I don't know.
Yeah. And not to get too political, but with all of this tariff talk and everything that's going on that I have zero education on, but I
Yep.
know there's a lot of unknown going on with life as a Canadian citizen. So it's definitely a gamble if you have the luxury to afford to stay in a place like Dallas or Florida. And, earlier this year, Dylan Gunther was a guy that got an 8x8 deal. And I like Dylan Gunther, really young player, but he's not Wyatt Johnston by any means.
Mm-mm.
So, I mean, I guess my question to you is like, is 9.5, if you were Jim Neal, would 9.5 be that top you would go is right now before the trade deadline?
Yeah, I think 9.5 is the max I would go. I think what I've heard and everything is that Neil offered 8.1, and then the agency is going to counter at 9.5, and then they're going to settle somewhere in the middle of there, even if it's 8.75, 8.8, even. Like, I just think that gets a deal done. I don't know if it gets a deal done right now. It may get a deal done this summer, but it might have to be bigger in the summer because the cap actually is bigger. We know exactly what it is, even though we kind of already know, and you know what the team looks like. But Wyatt's in a position to become the leader in the clubhouse, essentially. Like, he's going to be the guy in the locker room for years to come, and end up wearing a C more than likely. He's already wearing an A. Do you want to win? Do you want to keep winning hockey games and make a lot of money while doing it? Or do you want to make a whole lot of money and maybe not win any hockey games? It's just where Wyatt Johnston's head is at, because like the agency is going to push for more dollars. Obviously, the agent is going to want more percentage of what the contract is. And I get all that. It's a business and everyone has to make their money somewhere. But ultimately, Wyatt Johnston kind of has to say. He could do what Bregman didn't do this offseason, where if he really wanted to be an Astro, Alex Bregman, he would have signed that 6-year, $156 million deal that was on the table. It's a shitload of money. It's a little bit of a pay cut for the last 2 years of what he was on, but he gets to be a part of a winning organization. He gets to be the leader, one of the leaders in the clubhouse, and just depends what everyone wants. And Wyatt hasn't won a cup yet, so that's not a thing on the table right now. Like, you have a chance to go win a cup, go win your first cup as one of the young superstars on a team and become one of the faces of the league, arguably, if people were to actually watch Dallas. Like, I think he would be a very prominent role. Like, Quinn Hughes is one of the faces of the league, but I think he's kind of similar to what Wyatt Johnston is. Like, kind of a soft-spoken guy, just sick player. And he ended up wearing a Norris, so he's on a different level right now than Wyatt is, but Wyatt could get there. And if you get
Yeah.
eight times 9, like 8 times 9, I think is best case scenario for both parties. Like, he hits the $9 million mark, gets a little bit more than what the other deals were because the cap is going up and the timing of it. But he's also staying under the 12, 11, $10 million range where you're not you're not stuck against the cap at that point. But then the Robo and the Harley deals get a lot harder at that point.
Yeah. I'm with you, and I just have this confidence that something below 10 is going to get done. I have no reference of that. You're in the locker room. I'm not, but I just, he seems so comfortable playing and that locker room seems to gel so well. I have a hard time thinking he would even want to consider leaving it.
Yeah, it'd be tough because, I mean, if you look at Jamie's contract, he's at 9.5. He's the captain of the team. He was a superstar. He won an Art Ross, like, leader of the team. Obviously, he got the 9.5 way back when, and that contract's about to be up. And he got called out by the owner or the president that one year is at 21, maybe, where they got called out. And because they weren't producing points, and he was carrying a $9.5 million cap hit, and it's a detriment to the team. Not necessarily, but he means more than just points. I think Wyatt Johnston means points, but also the leadership stuff right now. So I think he wants to get paid in that same realm as what Jamie got way back when.
It's fair.
And I don't think he's wrong in any way, shape, or form. I think he deserves more than $10 million a year. I think he's that type of player, but it just depends where his head's at. Does he want to be a part of this team for years to come and grow up with Rupe and Miro and Jake and all these guys? Like, you have a chance to be able to do that because of what your contract looks like, where you're still getting paid very well. But if you take it down just a little bit, just under the superstar notch, just under the $10 million mark, you're able to keep Robo. You're able to keep Harley. Like, maybe Duchesne stays in the offseason. Like, Jamie Benn's obviously coming back. Tyler Seguin could come back after his contract is up. Like, you're able to keep the continuity of the team in the locker room, which we've talked about incessantly over the last few weeks about how important it is and how much of a locker room is sacred for the Dallas Stars. And the team, the guys in the locker room are all for all for everyone in the locker room. They're not for themselves. Like, they love to score points. Rupe had 4 assists the other night, and he's just like, just another game. Sometimes you got to get assists to get a goal, and I didn't get a goal tonight, but I got 4 apples. Like, I did what was needed for the team on Friday night, like after we talked to him. And yeah, these guys want to score goals. They want to make a lot of money, and I think you can do that, but also make a little bit less money than what you would make on the open market. So
my pitch to Wyatt Johnston right now is, look, the city of Dallas is right there for the taking. This is going to be the city's team going forward. Unfortunately, right before we started recording, there was some bad news for those Mavericks. But hey, hockey time. It's hockey time. And if you sign this contract, I guarantee you're going to be the face of this city for a long time to come. And it'll pay off for you. It'll pay off for that city and those fans who were so fantastic Sunday. I can't say that enough. My parents were glowing about just how into the game these fans are and how much they love the guys on the ice. And the guys, they pay it backwards. I mean, the connection that everyone has when you're at American Airlines Center for a Stars home game, it's second to none.
Yeah, absolutely. The fans love it. They all do stuff in the community for the most part. Like, Jake has a fan at every game. I think Matt Duchesne has a fan at most games, like for their foundations and everything. They bring a whole family to the games. Like, there's always people waiting outside the locker room for when players are leaving, waiting for autographs, and they always stop to sign them. It's never, hey, guys, I got to go. It's always, I'll take my 3 minutes that I could just go home and get in my bed and go to sleep after a good, hard-fought win. But they take the time to interact with the fans because they understand that hockey is a sport, yeah, and they do it for themselves, yeah. But the reason that they're there is because there's 18,500 fans in the stands every single home game, and they want to do it for them. They want to do it for themselves. Yeah, it's whether or not Wyatt Johnston wants to be a part of something way bigger than what he is, because he could go make a lot of money on the open market this summer. There's a lot of teams that would offer sheet him, like Chicago. Like, here's 12.5, bud. Like, have fun with Bedard. Like, go be a line mate with Bedard. You get to be the center. Bedard gets to finally be a winger. You could have a lot of fun in Chicago. I get that. But it would take a lot of growing pains and a lot of adjusting for Wyatt to play on a team like Chicago, where he's played on the Stars, where they've been the back-to-back Western Conference Finals those first 2 years, and making a cup run this year. Like, be a complete different animal, but he'd make $3 million more, or whatever it is. Like, he has his choices, and we'll see what he wants to do. And if a deal doesn't get done this week, I'm not going to be discouraged that a deal won't get done this offseason. Like, Jason Robertson missed the first, 2 weeks of camp 2 years ago before his bridge deal. Maybe 3 weeks. Like, it was a long time that he just didn't have training camp. I think he practiced like a couple of times before the first preseason game. He came in and scored 50 goals immediately. Like, great deal. Like, that was sick. Yeah. But yeah, I hope Wyatt stays. I hope he decides to stay with the Stars and take a little bit more of a team-friendly deal while also getting paid what he should get paid.
Yeah, I think, it's very close to home right here with Nico Collins and the Texans. It was like he's worth more than what he'll get, but what he'll get is very comfortable, and he loved the situation he was in. And that contract looked better and better as each, offseason went by. And I think man, if Jim Neal can get this done now, it's going to be more of the same thing. I mean, the guy's so young. His stats compared to some of the best players in the league at his age, it's scary to think what he will be in a couple of years.
He's so far ahead. I said it on the other podcast a week or so ago. He's so far ahead of what Nathan McKinnon was doing his first 3 years, points wise. And he had a rough start to the season. His first 2 months were not good, points wise. I think he still played well. It's just he wasn't scoring. Then all of a sudden the scoring's coming on. And then I think it's ill-timed that they start the contract extensions. Maybe they started him before the hat trick, but then he scores a hat trick and you're like, like you can't do it right now. It's tough. But we'll see what happens with Wyatt Johnston. I hope he signs this week. It would make a lot of Stars fans happy and relieved that they don't have to deal with it this offseason because he is going to get offer sheeted by whoever. It'd be awesome to get it done this week. So we'll see what happens with Wyatt. He's an awesome guy, incredible player. I hope we get it done, and I hope I get to watch Wyatt Johnston for the next 10 years plus in Dallas. That would be huge. But Dom, tell us a little bit about your Blues experience at the game at AAC.
It was incredible. You know, I have to give the biggest shout out to my mom. Sure, her company owns a suite, and her client is American Airlines. So we literally were treated like we were just first class the entire way through. We, instead of driving, you know, the company car, had us fly in. It was amazing. Great food, great people. Stopped in at my favorite place, Hero, and turned into my parents' favorite place. And just, you know, Stoney and his wife picked a great spot to live. Like I live here in Houston, but I have to just admit that I love the city of Dallas. It's so easy to get around. It's their downtown is built really nice, and if your plan is to go catch a game there, like you can spend all day downtown and just have fun. And seeing the boys that close was incredible. I mean, my brother kind of pulled me aside, just, man, I didn't know Logan's tank open was that small. I'm like, yeah, dude, like he's a normal person, and then all these other guys are just rare breed athletes, and he's lightning in person. I texted you during the game. Matt Duchesne's stick handling and pass work. Like that's the thing is like these Stars have won. They since Four Nation, they played 5 games, won 4 of them. They're averaging almost 5.5 goals a game. And I'm really not scared of Winnipeg because what's going to kill Winnipeg is the quick rebounding. And the Dallas Stars have that. Anytime they get scored on, they do respond. And Jake Ottinger, for some reason, just I don't know. It's all year long. We'll get a really big goal, and then like the very next shot that comes to his net will bounce in. But when he gets locked in, he really gets locked in. And there was some moment where I thought St. Louis was going to bounce back, but Ottinger put the stop right to him. I mean, St. Louis, you know, their record doesn't speak to how good of a talented team they are. Their coach has done a really good job this year, but man, the role that the Dallas Stars are on right now, almost 5.5 goals a game with a guy as talented as Jay Ottinger in net behind him, it's going to be tough to compete against those guys. And at the trade deadline, I mean, I hear all about, you know, you can't have too many defensemen. You can't have too many defensemen. Just wait till our defensemen get back and healthy. I don't know where Liam Bischel's at, but when he comes back and starts laying those hits again, like it's going to be something. There's no way I'm going to make at least one home playoff game this year. I'm booking it right now. My brother wants to go. There's no way I'm not missing a playoff like atmosphere in American Airlines.
Yeah, absolutely. What you said about Otter and those quick goals against right after getting a goal. What I've noticed is most of the time it's not even his fault. It's a tip in front of the net, or it's a breakaway, or it's a 2-on-1. It's a weird goal every time. Like that one against the Blues, it was a good blocker save, but it rebounded directly to a Blues player with an open net. So I know the Stars had just scored a rebound goal in the game, and what was it? I think it was Robo scored that rebound goal. They had one just like it, and then those Blues get the one right back a minute or two later, and it's frustrating for sure as a viewer. But I think Otter is one of those guys he's a top 10 goalie during the regular season, and then in the playoffs he can be a top 2 goalie like immediately. We saw it in that Calgary series a few years ago where he's just standing on his head and 50 saves and all that kind of stuff. Like he has the ability to turn it up when it comes playoff time, and I think that's a good thing to have when you're a top 10 goalie in the NHL during the regular season, and then you're able to be even better in the playoffs is huge because it gets tighter. Goals are harder to come against, and letting one in, you could lose a game just because you let one goal in. You could lose a game 1-0 in the playoffs, and it wouldn't surprise me. So yeah, I think Otter's huge, but yeah, the fans are awesome. The Blues game was sick. 4 for 4 on the power play. First time in Dallas Stars history to have 4 power plays and score on all 4 goals. 100%.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and they're up to 14th in the NHL now in power play percentage for the season, where they had been middling at 27 or 28 for what seemed like the entire first part of the season, like up until 2025 started. And that's incredible that they've made it that far. I was like, maybe they can end the season around 14 or 15, and then I'd be satisfied. Now they have a chance to go into the top 10. They have the number 2 power play since the new year across the NHL, and Detroit has the number 1 by like a few percentage points. But the difference is the Stars are number 1 in 5-on-5 goals since 2025 started, and Detroit is like 30th or 27th or something like that. So that's the difference between Detroit and Dallas. Like, they're scoring on both sides of the puck with a man advantage or even strength. And Detroit is scoring on the power play, but is not scoring 5-on-5. So testament of all 4 lines, obviously, because Sam Steele had that breakaway on Friday night on the PK. He's just a little shorty. He just got a breakaway, broke it off, and a little smooth backhander. Like, not a lot of moves, just got to the backhand and shelved it. It was nice. And if you can score on the PK, like, if you can score anywhere on the special teams, whether it's PK or PP, you're going to win hockey games. And you should win hockey games. And especially when you don't allow a power play goal and score 4 power play goals. That was the difference. It was 6-2, right? Like, scored 4 power play goals. If they don't have a single power play, they may lose that game, or they go to OT or a shootout, whatever it is.
Yeah, dude, it's always a fun time now up there. And man, my brothers literally text me like last night, like, when can we go back? Like, it's just, right now, I'm higher on my Astros than most people. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people. Texans are right there. Rockets are a couple years away, but dude, my Stars are right in position for a cup, man. Everybody's here. Just as long as we can stay healthy, as long as we can get healthy, we're going to be nasty come playoff time.
Yeah. And I think since 4 Nations break, 5 games, they've been outshot in 5 games, and they've won 4 of them. That's impressive to be outshot. Like, earlier in the season, they were outshooting teams left-handed, like, just all the time. They were outshooting every team, and they were losing bad games, and it was frustrating and it was weird. And now the puck's turned, essentially, where they're not getting out, or they're getting outshot every game, but they're scoring the goals, and they're having those tic-tac-toe goals like the last 2-3 games. Like, they've had beautiful just passing on the power play. That Duchesne one, so nasty. So nasty. Like, when you have that continuity between the team and everyone's kind of healthy for the most part, and you've got the same guys out there, Duchesne on the top power play unit with Thomas Harley has transformed the power play over the last month or so. Having those tic-tac-toe goals, but also the greasy ones like Stankoven had on Friday night, where he's around the net and he gets the tip, and then he gets the one where it comes off of the goalie and then just kind of toe drags it around the pad and gets it in. Like, we've had the greasy ones, but we've also had the beautiful goals. So they're scoring in all sorts of different ways, 5-on-5, PK, and power play. And you're not peaking just yet. They're coming towards a peak, I believe, and we'll see if they can do what Winnipeg's done and just ride it out for 2 more months. But yeah, I'd rather them start to peak now than in October, like, or in January or in February, like Winnipeg has. They've just been peaking the whole season, and that could be what happens the rest of the season. I don't know, but the Stars get off to a slower start, and they're still 3rd in the NHL in points, and they're scoring every single way that you can imagine in hockey, and I'd rather peak now.
Yeah, and they dropped that one, and it seems like they never get too low. I feel like the longest losing streak we've had, or maybe has been like 3 games. Like, it's just
No, they've never had a 3-game losing streak under Pete DeBoer.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, exactly. Like, anytime they get bounced, anytime they have a night where their legs are just a little bit tired, it never lasts long. And that's exactly what you want going into the postseason.
Pete DeBoer is cracking jokes in the press conferences, folks. It's not a coincidence that he's cracking jokes. He feels really good about his team since he came back from Four Nations. Like, he's cracking jokes at practice. He's cracking jokes after games. They had a question on Friday night. Lyubushkin looked a little hobbled. I think he took a puck to the thigh, like a Charlie horse, essentially, and then didn't come back the rest of the game, and then came back a little bit later and just looked a little slow. And someone asked, "Hey, is Lyubushkin all right?" He looked a little slow coming up from taking that puck on the leg, and he goes, I just think that's the way he looks all the time." And then one guy in the media press room just started belting out laughing, and Pete DeBoer goes, "Do you like that one?" and just started chuckling. Like, dude, everyone's having a really good time right now.
He's come a long way from the beginning of the year. You remember when it was like a 10-game stretch where there was no power play goals?
Yes, because we asked him about it for like 2 games out of that 10. We're like, "Hey, are we worried about the power play?" He goes, "Talk to me after 10 games." And then it was 10 games, and then no one asked him about it because everyone was afraid to ask him about the power play.
Yeah, man, it's just such a fun time to be a Stars fan right now.
It is. We got 2 more home games this week. Got the New Jersey Devils tonight. I'll be there in the press box, and hopefully we can get another one like we did at the start of after the Four Nations break in New Jersey, and hopefully we can get another one. Obviously, the Hughes brothers are a little banged up. I believe Jack isn't playing. I don't know about Luke. I don't know who's starting in net. I'd have to guess that DeSmith might get a start here. Otter's played pretty much every game since the break, other than the back-to-back to start, and maybe give him a little breather and then get him back in the home goalie net on Thursday against Calgary. It's 2 teams that you should beat. We've said that about Columbus. We've said that about Anaheim this season. You can lose a hockey game whenever. We don't know when it's going to happen, but this Jersey team they're beaten down a little bit. One of their best players is gone. One of their best other players is potentially not playing. So we'll see what happens with New Jersey tonight, but I'd expect another rocking crowd in American Airlines Center, and hopefully everyone can forget about the Mavericks for the rest of the season and just start going to Stars games because it's over. It's never been more over for the Mavericks. So let's just go ahead and accept that fact. We were pretty close to it like a month ago, and now it's really over. Let's just call it a day. It's never been more over. So go to a Stars game. Get a Victory Green jersey or a hat or whatever. Maybe not a hat if you don't want to lose it at a game, because apparently we could just do that all the time now. Did you throw a hat the other night?
There was hats that came down from above, and we kind of just played. We played relay, and there were some hats that made it to the ice.
Okay, I want to give a shout out to Reagan Huggins. He bought a hat at the game and was like, "I can't throw it. I just spent $30 on this game, on this hat. Like, I'm not going to throw the hat." And then everyone bullied him into it, including myself. And after the game was over, he threw his hat on the ice. So the juju is still there. He kept it. Like, he kept his word. He threw the hat on the ice. I may buy him another hat, just out of solidarity for the guy. He got bullied into it. So,
yep. I mean, that hat you got on right now is nice, but they were offering 20% off.
Go ahead. Sorry.
They were offering 20% off after the hat trick, which is really nice. I had no idea that it was even a thing, but yeah. So the more you learn. If you're an AAC and there's a hat trick, you will get a pretty good deal on some really nice hats in the hangar.
Yeah. So I got this at the Stars hangar in Frisco at practice a few weeks ago because I saw the Mooterus and I was like, I gotta have the Mooterus. Can't not have the Mooterus. And I was like, I would love a jersey. I was talking to the guy at the thing. He's like, this is like the 10th person that's come in and bought this hat in the last week. Like, they're selling pretty good. And I was like, I would just love a jersey. Like, the Mooterus jersey is a coveted jersey. It's like $500-600 on eBay. Can't find them anywhere unless you just had them back then. He's like, well, there's rumors that Fanatics is going to do a little throwback with the Mooterus logo. So if that happens, you best believe it. I'll be buying a Mooterus jersey at some point.
Let's go.
It's just going to be a Fanatics like kind of throwback jersey or whatever, like Mitchell and Ness maybe, and it won't be worn on the ice, but it'd be fun to have it. And then the last home game of this week, Thursday, we'll talk about it on Friday's show during the trade deadline stream. But Calgary is another team that the Stars kind of hate. Calgary hates the Stars and a lot of playoff battles in the past. And even though a lot of those players aren't on Calgary anymore, that kind of heat just stays on them for some reason when they come to Dallas. Like earlier in the season, Robo got into it with Calgary. He's getting into it a lot more in the last few weeks, which I've liked to see from Robo because he's a big guy and he's really strong. Doesn't need to fight. I don't need him to fight, but just shove a guy every once in a while. Cross check him after the whistle if everyone's around your goalie or if you're in their goalie's face. Like, and retaliate a little bit. He's been doing that, which is huge. But he did that against Calgary, and he basically just whacked a guy and cross-checked him in the back and got a penalty. And then he's the one that came out of the box and had that breakaway. Yeah, I went 5-hole earlier in the season. That was just he was a rocket. And he went as fast as he could with the back checker and everything. But Calgary's a tough matchup every week, every time we play them. But another lesser team coming to Dallas and should walk away with a win. Should walk away with 2 wins this week. 4 in a row at American Airlines would be huge for the program. But see what happens. You can lose any game in hockey, but Calgary and Jersey are 2 teams that the Stars should be confident going into as long as they get off to not to a slow start and don't have to come from behind too much. They should be just fine. That's what happened against Columbus. They got behind too much. It was 2 goals pretty quick, and there's a big deficit to come crawl yourself away from against a team like Columbus that's playing for a higher power now.
Yeah, these are going to be really fun games because obviously the talent that's on Calgary's bench is not ours, but they're still going to give you a really good game. This year, nobody expected them to have the start of the season that they had. And it's kind of been fun to see just from going from nobody to at least in the conversation. But yeah, these are 2 really good teams to be playing right now because it can help booster that hot streak that we've been on.
Yeah. Get DeSmith 1 game out of these 2, and we'll see what happens. Morning skate's probably going on right now. I just haven't looked at my phone, so I don't know what the lines are looking like. I don't know what the goalie situation's looking like. But we'll find out tonight after you listen to this, or like before you even listen to this, you'll probably know. But that's okay. We don't know what's going to happen. I would assume DeSmith is going to play one of these 2 games. We'll see what happens. But yeah, let's hope that Wyatt extension gets done before Friday. Maybe like today or tomorrow would be huge. Like today would be incredible, especially if he scores a goal. Like after signing an extension, like he's here to stay for the next 8 years after this year. Like be huge. The crowd would go nuts, and they love Wyatt already, and that would just make them love him even more. So let's get that done. Let's get to the trade deadline on Friday. We'll be back for another live stream on Friday on Apollo HOU's YouTube. Hit that subscribe button so you make sure that you're there with us around 2 to 3 Central Time. We'll see what time we end up starting the deadline stream, whether we get in there at the very end or right after it ends. We'll see what happens, but we'll make sure to put it on socials so you can make sure you follow us on any of the socials so you know where we're doing. But Dom, I love hockey. I don't love basketball anymore. Big hockey guy. I've always been a big hockey guy, but now it's even bigger. I don't have another sport to watch anymore. So hockey guy for sure.
Yeah. This past 40 minutes I've been talking to you just completely just Kyrie Irving doesn't exist right now.
Nope. He's not even a real person. So go watch Stars hockey. Go get yourself a Victory Green jersey and head to AAC as soon as you can because it is a party every single night in the hangar. So, Dom, we'll be back Friday. Live stream, trade deadline. We'll see what the Stars do. I don't know what they're going to do. I have no idea. I don't talk to Jim Nill like other people do. But maybe there's something to be had there. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see on Friday's live stream. We'll be back with another Clean Sheet of Ice, a Texas Hockey podcast. I want to thank Zing Zang for sponsoring this episode. Zing and Zang, America's #1 Bloody Mary mix in the country. They've got ready-to-drink cans. They've got the mix right there that Dom has. Go to wherever, like you get them wherever. So America's #1 Bloody Mary mix. Shout out to Zing Zang. Shout out to PrizePicks. Use code Apollo when you sign up. Get up to $100 matched on your first deposit. PrizePicks is a daily fantasy app where you hit more or less on every stat, every night, every game, every player. Jason Robertson, Rupert Hintz, Wyatt Johnston hit the more than on points. It's pretty simple at this point. And maybe the more than on Jake Ottinger saves if they're going to keep getting outshot every game. I don't hate it. Just win some money. Use code Apollo when you sign up for PrizePicks. Get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Dom, thank you for joining me. Listeners, viewers, thank you for watching or listening wherever you get podcasts. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, and we'll be back very, very soon with another episode of Clean Sheet of Ice, Texas Hockey Podcast.